Democracy is for me and for 12 million black Americans the goal toward which our nation is marching. It is a dream and an ideal in whose ultimate realization we have a deep and abiding faith. For me, it is based on Christianity.
We have always been a neighborhood in transition. First, we were Irish immigrants, cloth cap and lunch pail laborers at Carter Carburetor, Pullman porters, and the Knothole Gang at Sportsman's Park. We had doctors learning their art at Homer G, whites, Negroes, blacks, and then African Americans. The Ville thrived, schools and businesses, front porch neighbors. We watched white Catholics grudgingly integrate and finally, for the most part, leave. The 2000 census figures indicate that after Milwaukee, Detroit, and Cleveland, St. Louis is the fourth most segregated city in America.
Probably the cutest thing I ever saw in my life was I'd be up in the second story, up in the Jesuit rec room, and this little child, I'd be looking out the window, and this little child would cut through the front yard of the church, and she would touch the lamppost right in front of the doors and make a little kind of genuflection. And she did it once, and I thought, huh. And then I saw her do it again a few days later, and then a few weeks later, I saw her do it again. And I thought, what is that? What is she doing? I knew she wasn't a parishioner. So I was walking around the block one day, and I saw her on the block. And I said, hey, you're that little girl who cuts through the front yard of the church and always touches the lamppost and makes a genuflection. And she goes, yeah. And I said, why do you do that? And she goes, well, that's God's house, right? That's why we stay. People that you and I will never meet. Their lives are changed. They're different and they're better because St. Matthew's is there.
How long have you been sitting in this pew?
Ever since we were allowed to come to the front. And then we had to sit in the back of the church. To sit back there.
They let you in.
They let me in, yeah. They kept me in the back, the last seat. See, they thought my husband was white and they wanted to put him in the front and put me to the back. And we've never lived anyplace else. We've been living there for 60 years.
You know, and I've often wondered, would I have had that same perseverance to stay? I would hope and pray that I do. But I mean, I just have so much admiration for those who said, no, this is, God calls me here too. This is our house.
Respect each other here. And we love each other. And to me, this is all part of a good, strong, sincere church family.
I've been in this church for as long as I can remember, you know what I'm saying? And it's just my church.
It's a bit of a novelty to be white in a predominantly African American neighborhood. So that fact is not lost on our neighbors. But the fact still remains that the house is associated with St. Matthew the Apostle.
When our children are growing up, we get them on the ball field, we coach them, we keep them busy. We have this program and that program. And they grow up responsibly for that reason. And we're trying to reproduce that down here. We want to have basketball, CYC basketball. We want to have programs after school. Programs where kids can get in trouble and they can rebound from the trouble, just like in our own neighborhoods.
When I say low income, people still have pride. You know, it's not Ladue, it's not Wildwood, it's the Ville. But the people in Ville have heart. They have commitment. They have dedication. Being involved with St. Matthew's, where they go and worship, they're still bringing in their commitment to Northside because of the connection from St. Matthew's.
When I came back from Africa, I wasn't quite sure how I was going to feel or what, you know. The thing about Africa is every day, everything you do counted. Just being there counted. And there's, you know, a smaller idea of that, but still that here, that you know, my being here counts.
Because of St. Matthew's, we see this transformation happening in and around the church, but is expanding throughout this neighborhood.
I suppose the thing you learn about a place like that is they teach you how to pray. This is where we really need to be. And why do we need to be there? Well, because they have such a great message of faith and hope to give to the larger community in St. Louis.
We have people from Chesterfield and from Florissant and from Jennings and so on who come here to church on Sunday. And those who have chosen to build relationships with people here, who come and worship with us and then hang around and go to breakfast with us and then hang around and maybe get involved on a Saturday project. We get St. Louis U High dads and kids coming out here, Ursuline Academy, you know, there's a Coriezu, CBC, DeSmet, who get involved here. The relationships form, and then all of a sudden, people begin to understand that St. Louis is a whole. And if we ignore one part of it, it's kind of saying, well, my foot's got gangrene, but I'm not going to worry about that. I'm going to make sure that my shirt's nice. Well, I don't think so.
The 11 o'clock hour on Sunday is the most segregated hour in American life. That's what Dr. Martin Luther King said almost 40 years ago. To some extent, parishes reflect the communities they serve, and because of that, Catholic churches look segregated on Sunday morning. Justice requires a brave and honest acceptance of the way things are. Parishes have always been community as well as spiritual centers, and St. Matthew's is no different. It's a crucible for deeds more than words. For all these households and all of these lives, St. Matthew's is here. Embracing saints and demons, acknowledging that salvation occurs on both sides of the aisle, up on the altar and in the pews.
That's that city that's down the line that we're trying to build. But that's our goal, is that we have a city, a home, a neighborhood, a world in which the peace of Christ can exist.
This is my body, which will be given up for you.
For all, so that sins may be forgiven. Do this in memory of me.
On earth as it is in heaven, give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us.
Let's offer each other a sign of Christ's peace.
The opportunities to be Catholic throughout the week are abundant up here on the north side. Like the center aisle that welcomes us to our spiritual center and then directs us to carry a message of love and hope back into the streets. Our doors have never closed. A parishioner who's been there and done that reflected on his decades in the Ville.
It's not enough to know what Jesus said. You got to get out there and do something with it.
We bring up our tears, we bring up our laughter, we bring up our joy, we bring up our work, and then we go back out into the city and share God's love, share the love we experience around that altar.
Come now to the table of the Lord.